Deutsche Telekom global carrier. We've achieved 25 years of groundbreaking innovation in the wholesale industry. And whatever communication will look like in the future, it will derive from our innovations of today. We are committed and determined to deliver the best experiences to our customers by connecting tomorrow. New horizons for your business with our global network of competencies, partners, and infrastructure. We deliver best-in-class products. Proven quality from one single source. One single source to deliver seamless connectivity. Protected. At speed. At scale. And wherever needed. One single source for our clients to profit from new cooperation models with maximum efficiency, featuring interoperability and consistency across the whole technological transformation. Whatever communication in the future will look like, our mission is to master complexity, enable security, and maximize connectivity for your vision to become real. So whatever your vision for the future is, let's get started with you today. Connecting tomorrow, now. Deutsche Telekom global carrier.
Hello everybody and welcome to Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier Analyst Briefing. Today we have set up this day in order to provide an overview of the developments in the carrier industry and also to showcase some of the developments that we are investing in order to transform essentially from a traditional carrier into a truly digital carrier. And we have invited all of you, whether you are analyst in the wholesale industry, analysts from the telco industry, and consultants and specialists in order to learn more about what we are currently working on. And without further ado, I would like to show you our agenda that we have prepared for you for the next 2 hours. So today, the first topic on our agenda, we will be welcoming our SVP of Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, Rolf Nafziger, to provide an introduction into Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier digitalization in this industry. So he will provide us a keynote in relation to digitalization in our industry, and we will then be moving forward with Bertold Frech, who will be talking to us and providing insights in digital enabling portfolio and network APs. Following this, Sherif Razkala will talk to us about enterprise business networks in a connected world. Finally, we will be welcoming Nicholas Nikuruyan, our VP Voice and Mobile Solutions, to talk to us about 5G roaming enablement and operator view. After this, we are very happy to welcome all our speakers on stage as you'll be offered the opportunity to ask questions via the WebEx chat function. So during all the presentations, please put your questions in the WebEx chat as you will have this opportunity at the end. And once the Q&A panel is completed, Rolf Nafziger will provide a conclusion and summary and goodbye statements to all of you taking part here today. But before we proceed, I would like to share a few housekeeping rules. So I kindly ask you all to remain muted. You have been centrally muted, but during the Q&A part, you will be able to unmute yourself in case you would like to ask your questions live. I very much hope you enjoy the next 2 hours that we've prepared for you. And without further ado, I would like to present Rolf Nafziger, the SVP of Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. Welcome, Rolf.
Yeah, hi, Sia. Thank you. And a warm welcome also from my side. A welcome to our first analyst briefing for Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. The reason we have set up this briefing is to create transparency. The international wholesale business is sometimes perceived at many carriers as intransparent, as complex, as sometimes technology-driven. And for us, it's really a purpose here to really give you the full transparency about how are we driving this industry and why international business has become that important. In the end, the business on our side is very simple. If we ask ourselves who we are the aggregator of the group of Deutsche Telekom for all kind of connectivity in the international footprint. No telco in the world is really global. No telco has really a footprint in each and every country of the world. So it's essential that we are connecting to each other. It's very important that we are really having connectivity with other telcos. We, as an aggregator within the group for all our subsidiaries, we are really creating here scale, and we are a very efficient setup, and we are then driving this kind of international innovations also for the group. At the same time, we are also the one-stop shop for other carriers who need connectivity within our footprint, the footprint of Deutsche Telekom. For this purpose, we are organized in 5 units that we call verticals. The first one is international voice, where we are providing international voice termination, voice hubbing, IPX signaling, and also international messaging. The second one is Internet and Content Services for IP transit and peering, where we are also connecting with paid peering the big hyperscalers to our network, the AS3320. In this portfolio, we also have DDoS defense and we have CDN services. Then there is access and transport services, very important really to provide nowadays SD-WAN underlay as well with layer 2 Ethernet services, layer 3 IPN, VPN services, and internet access. One very important unit is, of course, also international roaming. A couple of years ago, I was asked, do we still need international roaming? Because in Europe, everything is for free. But of course we need, because roaming is getting important, more and more important year by year. The reason for this is, first of all, also within Europe, we are charging each other for our roaming traffic between the carriers. But even more important is that now with IoT and machine to machine, a lot of more complexity is coming into our business model. And then we have one very specific unit, and this is the in-flight and connectivity services unit. If you're flying Lufthansa, for example, and you have an ISP on board, internet connectivity, this ISP is provided by us, by Deutsche Telekom. And if you're flying British Airways, Iberia or Welling or Aegean Airlines, we even provide the first air-to-ground network here with 4G frequencies on a ground base that is sending the signal into the plane with a very high capacity and very, very good user experience. With the video before, you have already seen that we are a very strong international team with more than 25 nationalities. We have more than 900 customers, more than 250 kilometers of fiber cable, and with 27 billion voice minutes, we are one of the 5 big providers for voice worldwide. We provide more than 100 tera backbone capacity and have more than 80 POPs in 30 countries with more than 4,700 access points. Maybe you also have followed the new organization that Deutsche Telekom has created just 2 years ago, with all the TC services coming from T-Systems, international TC and also international TC service being integrated into the German B2B organization, what we nowadays call the B2B powerhouse. With this move, also we as global carrier, we have moved into this powerhouse with a lot of benefits. We are now part of one of the biggest units in Europe when it comes to B2B, with 2.4 million business customers, 9 billion revenue, 5 billion EBITDA, and 9,000 employees. With this, we have amazing access to a huge product portfolio, and on top, very, very good communication. If you have been part of the Digital X last year in Cologne, you know what I'm talking about. Innovation, and we will talk today about innovation, has always been the core of our business. And if you look a little bit backwards, we have launched a lot of initiatives here, a lot of new products, a lot of new services in the past. The European Aviation Network I just mentioned before was launched in 2018. It's still unique on the world. We have data center mirroring in place that facilitates the mirroring of entire data centers for one data center to another. Encrypted Lambda was launched in 2019. We launched the IoT Packet Gateway that improves a lot the latencies on IoT roaming and M2M. Normally, roaming traffic is steered back to the home country, which has a disadvantage when it comes to latencies and also capacity. We have created these packet gateways to have local breakout for these specific services. Then Premium IPX being launched in 2020. And we are also very proud of our cloudified voice production that was launched in the same year, where we have moved our voice production. First, it was softwareized, and then in the next steps also moved to the cloud, with the benefit that we have much faster time to market when we want to implement new features. And it's easier to scale. Then, of course, IPX Cloud Connect, that you may know, which offers MNOs connectivity to cloud providers over the IPX network with a lot of quality of service and security on top. And very specific is also our IPX Navigator that offers end-to-end monitoring of IPX and data roaming, and with which we can even predict if we will have a network problem in one of our partner networks where we are steering the traffic. All this, and I'm very grateful for that, has been very well perceived by the analysts. And just here to look into two surveys, Omdia has named us being the leading innovator over the period of 10 years when it comes to innovations. And Global Data has ranked us being a very strong provider of innovation. And this makes us definitely very proud. Thank you for that. On top, we are winning many prizes. In 2020, we have been winning the Best Wholesale Operator Prize by the World Communication Awards, which is a little bit the Oscar in the industry. And for example, we also in the third time in the row, we are named the Best Pan-European Wholesale Carrier by the Global Carrier Awards. And the last prize we did win here in 2021. But this is, of course, looking into the past. The question is, what is going on right now? What do we need to tackle? And as you all know, all industries are currently under transformation. Each and every business is fighting with or against a disruption, where we see that we have very prominent examples like Uber that has disrupted the taxi industry, Airbnb that has disrupted the hotel industry. But of course, we in the telco industry, we also have already been disrupted. WhatsApp is a great example where with a much better application, a lot of SMS traffic on our side was cannibalized. And besides being in part of this development, we are of course also a strong provider of digitalization. And this means that at the same time, we are the enabler of all industries with connectivity on which most of the digitalization is based. We also have to cope with the development and be a strong and agile provider of a transformation system. If we just take a look onto the tech radar with all these topics here on the screen, like blockchain, like SDN, SDX service, quality of service, edge computing, and campus networks, 5G. All these topics were a little bit like stardust in 4 or 5 years ago, topics on conferences where we discussed that. Now it's real. It's either already part of our portfolio or we have POCs up and running to implement this, because all these topics are changing the face of our industry. And besides these topics and trends, we also identify major trends when we look into B2B. Here, a look at the B2B as a service. Our belief, and we see this trend, is that in the future everything is organized as a service. This means that digital services are more subscription-based and instantly available and also configurable. Apps and networks are moving closer together, and with this, apps can control network parameters, for example, quality of service. And we mentioned already SDX and SD-WAN services is one example where we are getting new security requirements in a digital world. So we have cloud adaptation and hybrid working that is changing the way we have to deal with security. Technology trends, also very exciting, but sometimes also threatening. The question is, how are we dealing with telcos? Being just maybe another cloud workload, moving everything to the cloud, where we have to become cloud native in the future. Telcos are going to be a platform and need to be scalable and open. Bertolt will talk a little bit later about APIs, how we are opening certain network functionalities, also exposing them so that we can resell, for example, network slicing. And another topic is to become a one-stop shop for connectivity. Network of networks is already a business that we are dealing with today as an international wholesale provider, because we are buying different networks out of our footprint. There's a strong belief that this philosophy of our networks is getting closer to the customer, that the customer in the end is just asking for an orchestration of his specific needs, so that we have an orchestration layer above different network technologies, and we don't talk about mobile and fixed 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G anymore, but just about the customer demand and what kind of service he needs. Taking into consideration all these developments from everything as a service, API-based architecture, network of networks, network cloudification and 5G that we have just seen before, we are convinced that we as a global carrier, we need to change. We need to change from a traditional carrier model and move into being a digital global provider. We are not serving anymore only carriers, so we have to move from a carrier to carrier model into becoming a carrier to X, a carrier to B2B to B2C, B2B to C model. Today we are dealing a lot with voice, termination, SMS and internet. In the future it will be on cloud communication, A2B messaging and premium internet that we are selling. Today we are very much a hyperscaler service provider. In the future, we want to be on eye level with the hyperscalers. Today, we have very human intense sales. Sometimes our operations is very complex and we have long delivery times. This has to change significantly by self-ordering tools and automated delivery. Today, we have long contracts, minimum commitments and RFPs. Tomorrow, it's pay as you grow. Real-time settlements will be the reality. As already mentioned, from focusing just on own connectivity, we will become also a connectivity orchestrator. So how are we going to accelerate digitalization? Because all that we have seen before, of course, is not a walk in the park. We need a lot of transformation initiatives, and we already have placed them. What all these initiatives have in common are certain paradigms that we are moving. One is automation. We are passionate about radical automation to free resources. The second is about cloudification. We are embracing cloud-native journey to enable radical automation in the end. The third one is about disaggregation and decoupling and APIs. So we are demystifying and getting real about disaggregation to drive innovation at a completely different speed and with a different choice. And on top, we are very, very passionate about an improving customer experience and security needs. All this for us is not lip servicing. So already today, we have a lot of projects up and running. And an example for this is, for example, in the category of automation. We are very, very active in the area of e-bonding. By e-bonding, we have established an automated quoting tool with which our wholesale customers can connect via very simple APIs. This we are now also standardizing for the rest of the industry together with partners via the MEF. Also in automation is, of course, blockchain. For blockchain, sometimes this is, for many people, somehow connected more to payment. We see it as a great tool to improve ordering, settlement, and payment between the carriers, between multiple wholesale partners, with a great impact on automation and also avoiding disputes. Edge Cloud, we have already a POC in place and first customers on that. Hybrid cloud voice platform, I already mentioned before, where we have moved our voice platform first into a softwareized architecture and then into the cloud. Then in the area of disaggregation, we have the virtual IoT packet gateway in place that I also outlined before. We have deep dives here today about digital enabling, which is a key topic for us to really go into this disaggregation as well. Our digital NOC is using big data and artificial intelligence already today to predict and heal potential network issues. Very important to have consistent quality across the globe. And 5G, roaming enablement and quality of experience, also an important topic where you will learn more about in the session of Nicolas. So what is our target? Overall, we are eager to run this and to grow it. And it's our target that by 2030, we have changed our product portfolio that significantly that 50% of our revenue is coming along with new products and new services. And already today, we have around 10% around that. And in 2025, we want to have 25% of our products in this digitalized environment. This is our target. And we will also show you how we are getting there. And with this, I would like to hand over back to Sia.
Thank you very much, Rolf. That indeed was a very insightful presentation, as it showcases how we're really transforming into a digital carrier. And on that note, I would like to thank you and welcome our next speaker here, Bertold Frech, who is our VP of International Strategy, Marketing and Steering. And he will talk to us about digital enabling portfolio and network APIs. Welcome, Bertold.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sia, and also warm welcome from my side. Very happy to be here today to talk about our digital enabling portfolio and our network application programming interfaces, so providing digital access to network functions on a 5G network today. So I would like to cover two main topics today. I would like to start explaining a little bit about our digital enabling strategy, why we believe that the telco as a platform play that Rolf described before is key for us to succeed in this new world, in this transformation of the global carrier industry, and what we believe are the key success criteria to be performing in this new environment. And then I would like to deep dive a little bit more into our API exposure gateway, how we are providing digital access to our services. I would like to share with you the results of a first proof of concept that we have done together with BMW and valet parking for autonomous parking. And last but not least, I would show you how we are establishing now programmable communications for our customers and what features we are offering on that platform, which is about to launch in the second half of this year. So Rolf has mentioned the telco as a platform, and why is it so important for us? If you think about the traditional telco model, so how it typically works is that telco operators invest in networks, They build up their customer base on these networks, and with the growing customer base, they create economies of scale that would allow them to invest even further in the network infrastructure, whether that's a fixed line infrastructure or the mobile infrastructure. But in this changing environment, we believe that it is key to expand now and address new business opportunities. And the way we want to do that is with a telco as a platform approach. So combining the strengths of Deutsche Telekom with our partners and creating a federated marketplace where we are orchestrating across all these different capabilities from ourselves and the partners, offering new services on that marketplace, we can broaden the scope of our services and attract new customer segments that we are not serving today as a global carrier. And that will help us invest even further in our telco as a platform capabilities. And we believe that this will enable us to address new markets that are really huge in size and that are also in the middle of this digital transformation that Rolf mentioned earlier. So when you think about the market for autonomous driving, the market for gaming, virtual gaming, or logistics, all these markets are double or even triple-digit billion-euro markets that heavily invest into digitization. And what we want to do with our API exposure gateway is provide easy access not only to our core services, our communication services, but also providing new functionality, especially with the network capabilities that the 5G network is now offering to be exposed to these customers. Step by step, we want to expand that gateway even further with other domains, IoT here just as one example. And I mentioned that orchestrating across partners and federation, not only with other telco operators, but also with cloud providers or even satellite providers, is key here to expand the portfolio even further. And if we think about network capabilities, what does it really mean? It means that we allow our customers to dynamically book certain quality levels on the network as needed by the application. So if you have a self-driving car, for example, you are able to provide a definite quality level so that the car can drive safely across the street, so to say. On the cloud communication side, we are offering cloud platform as a service, but also amended by other channels like WeChat or Viber that we provide access via our APIs. So in order to successfully establish such a marketplace, we believe in 3 key success criteria that we have to meet as a global operator. So first of all, it is about establishing a dedicated environment for exposing these APIs. So we believe that we should put all different APIs in one single place accessible for our customers. And that should not only include access to our own services, but also the partners, the federation that I mentioned before. And of course, you have to continuously manage these APIs. You have to develop them further. You have to put new releases there to keep it an active environment. Secondly, we believe that standardization is key because customers will not want different API logics from Deutsche Telekom and other carriers. It should be one common system. And that's why we are very strongly engaged in creating a common standard for the industry on a global scale, and I will touch upon that a little bit later. We also believe that you should start small, you should gain experience with proof of concept, with minimal viable products, and step by step expand our capabilities, working very closely with the customers, understanding their specific needs so that you can design your solution according to the requirements of the customer. And last but not least, we put a particular focus on developers because we believe that in order to be successful, you have to cater for the specific needs of the application developers. So developers will want to try out your application programming interfaces. They want to have easy integration of these APIs into their applications. They, of course, want a good quality and security of the services they are using and attractive pricing schemes. And last but not least, the developers typically work in communities where they exchange with each other, where they support each other, and actively creating such a community for the application programming interface and the services behind is one of our goals here. So the technical setup of our API exposure gateway is shown here. So the basic idea is to have one common function exposing all different APIs to different customer segments. So we have our, let's say, traditional telco customers and the hyperscalers, but we have also B2B use cases for their end users and even B2C use cases where all different APIs should be exposed via a single platform to these different segments. We even believe that certain functionality you would want to expose only internally to your own product developers. So we are also planning kind of an internal section here so our own product developers can get access to different services across Deutsche Telekom Group. And we are starting with the network capabilities and the cloud communications APIs I mentioned before. And we have already launched this proof of concept on the network capabilities together with BMW and Valeo Parking. And let me explain a little bit the logic of how we did that. So basically, we equipped a garage in Munich with 5G connectivity, and we allowed the BMW car to dynamically book a certain quality level on the network. So you as a driver of the car, you would basically leave the car in front of the garage, and the car would then autonomously drive to an empty parking spot in the garage. And in order for this to work safely and securely, you want to make sure that the connectivity needed by the car has a guaranteed service, a quality of service level. And what you can see here with the network throughput is upon this dynamic booking of the quality of service level, the throughput of the network was 800 megabit per second and kept stable even when the 5G network was loaded with additional traffic. So you can see here the difference on the magenta side with the quality of service booking and without, which is a blue one. And you can see that in the loaded cell, without that quality of service component, the throughput would go down because of the load of the mobile cell, while with the specific network slice providing quality of service, the throughput would stay on the original level of 800 megabit per second. And by the way, that's not only true for the throughput level, that's also true for the latency, which is not explicitly shown here, but also the latency, which was around 20 milliseconds here, kept stable even when the network cell was loaded. So we showed this proof of concept also at the Mobile World Congress 2 weeks ago. And we used the opportunity to also announce the Camara Alliance behind the network capability exposure. And we have been strongly driving this alliance because standardization being such an important topic to make this a global standard, let's say, for the industry. And we are very happy that we have already more than 20 partners from the telco industry, from the hyperscalers, from equipment manufacturers joining this alliance. And we have seen a lot of interest from additional partners who are investigating to join the alliance as well. We have more than 30 requests, so to say, and interests here to grow this alliance even further. So this was the network function exposure. I also mentioned before the communication services. And what you can see here is a little bit the evolution of the communication services in the industry. So traditionally, telco operators have been very strong, of course, in the classical communications as a service. So making a simple phone call, sending an SMS, roaming in a different network. But these kind of traditional communication services have seen tremendous change especially recently with the pandemic, where communication as an app has become more and more popular. So not only the use of WhatsApp, Viber and the like, but also the applications like Zoom video conferencing, WebEx Teams that we are using here have become a normal communication service. And we believe that the next step in the evolution is going to be the programmable communications. So what does it mean? It means that you don't need a specific application anymore. You don't need specific telco equipment anymore to provide communication services in your applications or in on your browser-based website. And the way we are supporting this paradigm shift is setting up a cloud communications portfolio accessible via application programming interfaces so that carrier customers, but also enterprise customers, can get access to the communication services via an API, so in a fully digital way. And the portfolio components include CPaaS services, omni-channel, so what I mentioned, WeChat, WhatsApp and the like, numbers that you can purchase from Deutsche Telekom to provide dedicated services, and SIP telephony as well. And to give you a little bit an impression of what the detailed features behind the services are, I have listed here the features we are planning to launch in the second half of this year with the CPaaS service. And I'm not going to go through all of them, there are quite a few, but let me just highlight some of them. So for example, on the SMS side, we are offering parsing the SMS and basically acting upon specific content of the SMS being sent, or transferring SMS to email and vice versa. On the telephony side, we are offering conferencing management solution as well as text-to-speech functionality, for example. We will provide specific turnkey apps, for example, for two-factor authentication, and some additional features to integrate our services via WebRTC into browser-based applications, and also providing a simple graphical user interface for our customers. And all these services will build upon our Deutsche Telekom infrastructure. And this is the unique selling point, so to say, from our side, that compared to the aggregators who are offering these services today, we are combining these services with the strengths of our own infrastructure, but of course, although the partner infrastructures we are using already today to provide these services. So, key takeaways for the application-based business. So, we are addressing new market segments by delivering our telco capabilities via the APIs. We believe that the telco as a platform approach and standardization will help us address new revenue sources for Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. We have demonstrated with the proof of concept on autonomous parking that providing network function APIs works with Deutsche Telekom. We have set up the Camara Alliance with other telcos, over-the-top players and vendors, and we are expanding it. And we are planning to launch our cloud communication service in the second half of this year. And last but not least, we are driving many other activities which we are not showing in detail here today, but will help us further digitize our services portfolio. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bertold, indeed, for this insightful presentation. You seem to be very busy, and without further ado, I'd like to thank you. We will see you again shortly. So and I would like to welcome our next speaker here with us today. We have Sherif Rezkala, who is our VP Portfolio and Head of Business Networks, who is going to talk to us about enterprise business networks in a connected world. Welcome today, and we're very much looking forward to hearing more about your topic.
Thank you very much, Sia. So let's talk about networks. So networks is at the heart of the digitalization journey that every customer is ongoing right now. We have started from a very long history of a centralized approach where the business customer have been quite easy. Everything goes through the headquarters office. All the traffic is routed there. You host your applications, all your applications at one site. You have access, you have your IT department using it, or even if you don't have an IT department, somebody is managing it for you. Now, if we look at the networks today, I mean, this is not only exploding, but it's also complexity is going to another high level. I mean, everything is going to the internet right now. So at the heart of the business networks and the enterprise customer networks, we see the internet. It's not anymore a private network. Private network still exists, but it's not the main one. Workloads are being moved to the cloud. Remote workers, if we have seen something from the last 2 years in COVID, we have seen how much we need remote working, that we cannot, any customer or any enterprise cannot even go without remote working. It's a must right now, it's not a luxury. And with the rise and increase of the number of the IoT devices, we have seen a lot of connectivity, everything going through the internet. Internet is a must, it's not anymore a luxury. And still, you have to make sure that everything works with the highest capacity that you need for every application, the highest quality. So complexity is rising. Agility to react to the application is also quite high. You need to react very fast. And in all this, of course, your cost is going up. So you need to make sure that you are getting value for your money. And looking at all these points, it's not one place to secure your network. It's not only physical access that can make your give you threats or cyber threats. Now you are having threats everywhere at all the points where your users, your network elements, your devices are being connected to the network. With this, the customer use case is also quite different, because with this complexity, although the customers see it as quite complex, but they want also to be on the driver's seat. They want to simplify that. They want somebody to give them an abstract on their networks, to give them also access to what's happening exactly in the network. How can they change things in the network? How can they adapt to new applications? It's not only one cloud that the customer is using. Customer is using multi-cloud now, and even the SMB customers, small customers, from size perspective for sure, they are not only getting connected to one cloud, they have their workload in one cloud provider. Maybe they build it on their own, they have in their own data centers. But again, they have their software as a services offerings like the Microsoft offerings, and just as an example, and they will have multi-cloud access. So how to deal with these access? If you are moving your workloads from one application to the other, you need to do it fast. You cannot have any more transformation projects that last for many months. And as mentioned, the price is increasing, cost for the customer is increasing. They cannot afford to add an extra device or an extra network element for every layer they're adding. They need to get their value for the money, and they need to get less devices, be more efficient in how we access the network. And these are, this is a key requirement, not only from a cost perspective, but also from a manageability perspective. And as I mentioned before, security becomes a real challenge, because you can route all the traffic to one firewall as the past, but you will suffer on quality, you will suffer on performance. So you need really to move in a way of a zero trust strategy. You need to secure all your web access, and you need to make sure that all the applications are pretty secure. So quite challenges that the customers, our customers are seeing, and quite change that we see in the network. But Deutsche Telekom is responding to that. And before I go in details how we are and what are our key elements that we are responding with to these challenges and use cases for the customer, I would briefly say where we are coming from. Of course, we have been also building our products based on the old central branch headquarters, central and branch office network topology or architecture. So we have a monolithic approach, which was very clearly separating the enterprise networks from the internet based on our MPLS, adding even an internet for the non-critical traffic, but it was a monolithic approach, having a product end-to-end. Moving forward, a key element of what we are doing right now is that we are trying to modularize our network into building blocks. And in doing this, of course, we need to automate. There is no excuse not to automate. It simply will not be manageable if we don't automate, because we have a lot of varying elements that have to work together. We need also to, if we are separating the different layers of the network, we will need also to make sure that they work together. So they need seamlessly to be integrated in one platform, be software managed and software defined, and needs also to be orchestrated at a portal that also the customer will have access to. So if I go a little bit more in details on that, we are doing this, I would divided into 4 areas that we are looking into. So we are looking first at the devices, as I mentioned. The complexity is rising. The customers are looking for hopefully one device that can manage all the layers with virtual functions running on the device, that they can very quickly, with agility, adapt to the new applications that they are having, install a new network VNF on the device, get the functionality, and if they don't need it or they need to change it, they can do it also, everything with software. So movement and our ambition to have a universal CPE where we can put our network endpoints and elements and CPEs as virtual functions on one box. Extending this even not also to the connectivity between sites, but also to the local connectivity in the branch, where the LAN network and the local area network in the branches is now part of the WAN network. So the customer gets one view end-to-end over his network, not just getting 2 dashboards or more than one dashboard. Going over that, we are separating the what we call the underlay from the overlay. And if I would say it in simple words, the underlay is more like the physics, the transport layer where the packets are traveling. And we have a lot of other mediums now. Before we had only the MPLS. Now we are seeing that, as I mentioned, internet is at the heart of the transport layer. We have direct lease lines, Ethernet connectivity on lease lines that we are having directly. And we are also seeing mobile as a standalone connectivity right now. With 5G slicing, we will have networks built on mobile, not only used as a backup. So with us separating our underlay from the intelligence or the network intelligence on top, we could expose this to our customer, and this is also one at the heart of our role at Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, that we are exposing this to our partner to enable whatever service to run on top as an overlay, as we call an overlay. And coming to the overlay, what we are trying also even there, we are trying to go for a modularized approach, because we are serving a vast majority of customers, from small customers to very, very large customers, and even public customers, government entities. It's a big span of different needs and different use cases that we need. So we are also trying to modularize that and also enable it also for our customers. Now, of course, at the heart of that is, as I mentioned before, our service orchestration layer, our portal, not only for our internal colleagues who operate the network, but also to give access to this portal, to give a customer portal where the customer can see transparently, with simplicity, his network, can steer his applications, can see where his traffic is going, and where exactly are the bottlenecks. And based on that, for sure, we have also adding value-added services that we also expose to our carrier partners, security, value-added services, cloud connectivity, and edge computing. If I would look at our ambition also on the portfolio, of course, to match all that, as I mentioned, software-defined networking is at the heart of what we are doing. And in order to be that, in order to scale, we need to automate. And in order to automate, we need to have a very clear, defined product that we can automate end-to-end so that we can offer to our customers and give and expose all these benefits to our customers. So our ambition is that currently we are coming from a world where we are doing a lot of reacting to the market and reacting to the changes that we have gone through, expanding on project, people-intense networks that we are building for our customers. In order to cope with the growth and in order to cope with the automation level needed, we have to have a very clear product strategy where we have a product that can serve all our customers. In addition to that, we will have modules that we can add on top to serve the extra use cases that's not covered by our product, because of course we will have, as mentioned, vast majority of use cases that cannot be only covered by a standardized project. And these modules are also semi-automated. And then of course we will have at the end maybe a 10% of our portfolio that's still on a project base for the very specific needs that we have. And in order to go a little bit deeper on how we are serving our customer segments, what we call different segments of our market with different needs and different features, we are starting with a basic, what we call a basic SD-WAN portfolio, where we have a fully managed offering from an SD-WAN to an SD-LAN offering. We have also a couple of partners there. And then it's a very price-sensitive offer for our small and medium business customers. It's model where Deutsche Telekom is managing everything and outsourcing everything. Then we have our old, I wouldn't call it old, I would say the legacy and very robust offering, what we call intra-select SD-WAN, which is very well known in the industry, which is based on our MPLS, which is now extended to internet, and we have our first customers already onboarded on internet plus MPLS connectivities. And what differentiates this offering is that it's integrated underlay and overlay for the large customers with very complex and critical networks. They have an SLA, one SLA covering everything, including MPLS, including internet. And we have also our customers offered our customers who want to offload their traffic from MPLS to internet a very clear migration strategy, how to offload traffic from MPLS to internet. And then our new product that we are developing right now, what we call the SDX platform, which is a software-defined anything platform, where we are trying to automate on top of this platform the connectivity services. We are trying to automate the underlay, and we are trying to put on top different modules of the overlay, everything end-to-end automated with a customer portal that can give the customer all the benefits that they want to use. And of course, as I mentioned, our module approach, we call it Smart SD-WAN. That's where we approach with some of our partners listed there, the needs from some of our customers that we cannot cover directly by the product, and then we use the modules which are semi-automated to bundle them together and create an offering for them. But the journey is not ending there, actually. And networking, if we look in the past, every time everybody looked at networks and said, it's done, it's being a commodity, we understand that development will continue. We have a lot of things to do still on our roadmap. So this is just a very abstract and high-level view to show you where we are. As mentioned, one of our great bets is to put the SDX platform with the first release this year, where we will have a fully automated platform giving an end-to-end connectivity to our customers. And then we will have also our portals built, and then hopefully by 2023, we will have a fully automated service lifecycle that we can expose to our customers. In our underlay, we are already having a modular approach. We are extending our underlay to LAN Wi-Fi. We are also extending to new technologies like smart session routing, and we are hoping even to decouple completely even the transport layer, the physical layer, from the service layer, so that we have a multi-service access independent of the physical layer below. And then on the overlay also, as mentioned, we are adding the new technologies, and on the devices, our clear target is to go to the universal CPE, where we could add everything, all the network endpoints as VNFs. For our global carrier offering also, it's very important that all of this is exposed to our customers. And as I mentioned, just to stress again, we are exposing our underlay, so we are an SD-WAN enabler for our customers. So we are enabling our customers to build even their own overlays, as we give our own enterprise customers an end-to-end approach. We offer our global partners also to build on top of our modular underlay, and here we listed our IP network, our MPLS network, our cloud connectivity, and even our lease lines and Ethernet. And what's new, and we will dig a little bit deep, which is a new offering from Deutsche Telekom, is that we are offering a premium internet access with a guaranteed SLA with global coverage to complement our IPT network. And I will come to this in the next slide. In addition to that, we are exposing also our value-added services from secure cloud connectivity, DDoS protections. All these we are exposing to our global partners. Coming to our new product in the market, which I think will have a very good resonance, especially for our global carrier partners. It's our premium internet offering. What exactly are we doing there? The need, as Ralph mentioned at the beginning, we need to connect with our partners, with our operators, because we are not global. And we see this already in the market. We see also the threat coming from the hyperscalers extending their backbone worldwide. So we need to react. We don't have our IP networks, our own IP network is not present everywhere. We don't have POPs everywhere in the market. So we had a gap to cover in our coverage. So how we are doing that? We are complementing our IP network, which is the AS3320, which have a global reach, but not 100% global reach. We are combining it with what we call a multi-cloud WAN. So what we are using is that we are using a software solution that utilizes more than 20 hyperscaler backbones based on efficiency, based on the application, and based on the workload and the traffic congestion also, to route it with the best optimum route. So we are making use not only of one backbone from our from the Cloud WAN backbones that existing, but we are using more than 20 plus. And all this is AI-driven, software-based, that optimizes the traffic. So what our customers are gaining from that? They are gaining a guaranteed bandwidth over the internet, so that's why we call it a premium internet. They are gaining synchronous transfer rate, so we are not looking here at any jitter or any quality loss for any video or voice over IP or any cloud apps or real-time apps, high availability, and what's more important also that Deutsche Telekom is giving an SLA that is exactly as an MPLS SLA. So looking back at the clear message, at the heart of our networking journey and what we are trying to do with our networking portfolio, we are going very clearly to a software-defined approach. And software-defined means that we will have modules that we will put together, steer together through software, build on top of them, give very clear advantage also to our customers, and it's a pluggable module. So it's not like everything you need to buy from Deutsche Telekom. No, it's a module or it's a platform that you can plug your own components, and Deutsche Telekom comes with its own components. Also, as a global partner, you can put your own components. So you can get the platform, add your value-added services on top, add your value proposition on top, and then create a solution for the customers. This was exposing, as mentioned, the portals to the customers, the transparency to the customer, and the agility that the customer needs. So if I would summarize, what are our key takeaways from our networking portfolio? I would say networking and the modularity that we are going for in our portfolio is at the heart of the digitization. Networking is at the heart of the digitalization of every one of our customers, and being able to offer them this modular components to build on top for the different solutions enables them to achieve what they aspire for. Our roadmap is not ending with what we are achieving. We are already doing a lot of important stuff that's already reality right now, that's already implemented, but our roadmap is going even further with extending this, especially in the areas of security, cloud connectivity, and beyond. We are also we think we have a very clear differentiation in the market with our premium internet access, where we are ahead of the market, giving global coverage optimized through AI on the backbones of 20 plus of the hyperscalers, giving a backup, not only a backup to our IP2 network, but a complementing offering to our IP2 network. So with this, I will end up my speech on the networks, and I will hand back to you, Sia.
Thank you very much, Sharif. I really enjoyed this overview into our SD-WAN strategy and the role that Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier plays here. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our next speaker for today. Our next speaker is Nicolas Nikoulian. He is the VP of Voice and Mobile Solutions, and he will talk to us about our approach here on enabling 5G standalone roaming. So welcome, Nicolas. It's great that you are here today.
It's good to be here as well. Thank you, Sia. Good afternoon to all of you, or good morning, good evening, wherever you are around the globe. I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about 5G and the impact of 5G from an industrial perspective, as well as what we as the global carrier, Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, are doing in this particular space. Over the past 2 decades, we all have witnessed the technological shift when it comes to mobile environment. Going from 2G networks to 3G networks about maybe 10 years ago, or even a bit less, moving into LTE and 4G networks, and now, of course, going into 5G. And all of this transformation, of course, along the way created several things. One of them was that the expectation of the customers using the network continued to also evolve and change. At the same time, the technology itself created more and more complexities. So when you look at 2G, from the fact that it was even on 3G, the fact that it was more of the SLAs were best effort, going into LTE, and 4G continues to be also to a large extent best effort activities. 5G changes that dynamic completely. And also the fact that as we move through these technologies, the barriers of entry for the players around it also changes and shifts. And in some aspects, it becomes even less and less from that. And as you go through 5G, of course, the use cases are also shifting. It's no longer about use cases of people and person to person. It's now moving into IoT and use cases of machine to machine. And when it comes to machine, of course, there are several aspects around it that I will cover a little bit later in the presentation as well. So it's moving from quality of best effort to quality of service to now what we know as quality of experience for the customers, and again, quality of the delivery when it comes to machine-to-machine activities as well. In terms of development of 5G around the globe, our own T-Mobile US was the first in the world to put 5G standalone out to the market. As you see on this map, and as it is usually the case with technology and technological shifts, Asia happens to be ahead of the rest of the world in terms of capillarity and in terms of growth in the 5G standalone activities. So back earlier this year, beginning of this year, we have close to 60, 70 mobile operators around the globe testing 5G standalone, working on 5G standalone, in most cases in the labs. But again, as I said, T-Mobile US was the first one that actually marketed this 5G standalone in North America and the US market initially. And when you look at 2020, 2023, we feel that that number is going to go into probably 150 to 200 mobile operators moving into the 5G standalone part of this evolution as well. So, but at this point in time, it is more of a national play rather than a roaming play. And that's where Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier Services comes in. Some of you might have seen on the right side of this PowerPoint what we call the 5G triangle of GSMA. It's all about machine to machine. It's all about massive machine type communication, which happens to be in very, very small, dense areas around in the cities. It goes to an enhanced mobile broadband activities. That is a slight evolution of LTE moving into 5G. And then, of course, you get the very reliable, ultra reliable, low latency communication. That is, when you look at healthcare, Bertold earlier referred to autonomous driving machines. So all of those, of course, require this ultra low latency when it comes to connectivity. What does it mean from a wholesale carrier perspective? It's all about security, it's all about quality of experience, and it's all about us helping mobile operators around the globe to cloudify this part of their activity, okay, in terms of the connectivity, in terms of the interfaces, and in terms of the again solutions that they provide. And as Bertold again mentioned earlier about us creating these APIs to also expose the 5G assets through our APIs to the customers. And security part of it, I will cover a little bit again later in a couple of slides as well. It's a major differentiator when you talk about 5G and 5G standalone in particular. Of course, all of these technological shifts and the fact that around the globe, when it comes to roaming activities, 2G, 3G, 4G networks are still in play, depending on where you are. All of these, with 5G coming on top of this, creates a massive, massive amount of complexities for mobile operators to manage this. There are about 850 mobile operators around the globe, so you can imagine from a finance perspective, shifting into 5G, the investments that are required, the level of security that is embedded in 5G itself, and making sure that that is done, again, creating that quality of experience to their customers. Locally, it has its own complexities. When it comes to roaming, the complexities are even much, much higher. So I have given here a few examples. When you look at just the amount of traffic that is going to be exchanged, because as I mentioned, it's moving from person to machine as well. The IoT traffic that is going to go across the networks is immense, and it's going to grow further and further with an exponential growth ratio here. The security protocols that are required in order to make sure that all of these networks around the globe talk to each other, and that when a customer of T-Mobile US leaves the US territory and goes to another country, from a roaming perspective, if he or she is traveling in a country where it's 3G, how do these networks talk to each other? How do we make sure that, again, that individual roaming has exactly the same experience as he or she has in his or her own country, in this case, the US? So all of those complexities, the fact that some operators, again, in the US you see it, in North America you see it, in Asia is starting to also take place, where 3G networks, 2G, 3G networks are sunsetting. They are putting them out, and of course creating more push into voice over LTE activities, voice over 5G network activities. All of the billing scenarios that you can just imagine. Again, it's all about the increasing complexity in the roaming side as 5G kicks in. And when I was in Barcelona just a couple of weeks ago, we are not even understanding all of these complexities, and mobile operators or network providers or vendors out there are already talking about 6G. So again, you can just imagine the explosion of the complexity when it comes to these changing environments. What is Deutsche Telekom's global carrier play into all this? The only thing that we want to make sure that we do is to make sure those complexities are not part of the mobile network operators' agendas. That we take all of those complexities out, we manage those complexities, again, to make sure that their customers get the best experience when they are roaming internationally. So there are 5 basic areas here. One, again, is a very, very basic part of it, as I mentioned, about 2G, 3G, 4G, the signaling layer, the signaling protocol, that we have to make sure these networks talk to each other when one customer goes from one technology to another. The security part of it, that, as I mentioned, is embedded into this. I have a slide on this coming up after this. The low latency part that I just mentioned earlier as well, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to very, very much these areas where quality of experience, speed of experience is key when it comes into that roaming and international part of it. The value-added services that we provide today on 3G, 4G networks are going to be different in how we provide them to the customers on 5G networks. So again, how do we move through this layer of value-added services? How do we make sure that we provide the value-added services exactly, again, the same way that the customers have experienced in the past without any interruption? And there are some areas such as campus networks, such as the virtualization of the networks, the cloudification part of it, that are also very, very key. And again, in these 5 areas, going from left to right, all of those complexities, Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier's responsibility. And what we do is making sure that we simplify that process for the mobile network operators. Just one note about what we call SEP, which is Security Edge Protection Proxy, the SEPP here, is, as I mentioned earlier, security is embedded in 5G. The encryption of on one side of the network and then decryption and encryption and decryption on the other side of the network between two mobile operators are the key differentiators when it comes to 5G. And again, as we just discussed, it also creates complexities. When you, again, what I mentioned about 850 mobile operators around the globe, when you look at the many-to-many relationships that these mobile operators have to create in order to make sure these SEP activities and protocols are managed amongst all of these networks, you can just calculate and imagine the complexity that it creates. And there is a lot of discussion in the industry today in terms of how our carriers, such as Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, can bring value into that ecosystem by creating a hosted security edge protection proxy, a hosted SEP, where, again, we take the complexity away from the mobile operators. We make sure that we are the ones that are encrypting and decrypting that information, meaning identifying what the security levels must be and ensuring that those policies are implemented correctly, just exactly as if they were to do it on their own. We are the ones that can come into this and, again, simplify that activity. So what the mobile operator has to do through an IPX, a secured IPX network, of course, through us, and the fact that we have the connectivity to majority of the mobile operators around the globe, we can definitely bring that value add onto this ecosystem. We are doing already, we are one of the front runners when it comes to 5G standalone POCs and testing and making sure that in terms of proof of concept, again, due to the fact that we are also taking advantage of the fact that T-Mobile US was the first one in the world. A lot of operators around the world are, of course, very interested in going through this 5G standalone as well. So we are doing a lot of proofs of concepts at this point in time. Amongst various networks in the world, Europe, Americas, Asia, the US, Asia, Europe. So we are creating this environment to make sure that all of the complexities that I just mentioned earlier are all tested, making sure that from a roaming scenarios, all of these elements are taken care of before the roaming actually starts to go into the market and provided to the customer base. So when it comes to the signaling layer, again, we are testing the various signaling layers to make sure that they talk to each other between 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G networks. We are talking about the value-added services, as I mentioned. The way the value-added services are provided today on the 4G or 3G networks are going to be different than the way we provide them on a 5G network. Again, making sure that we innovate as we go through these and we enhance these value-added services to ensure that they work on the 5G networks as well in a roaming scenario. The network slicing part of it, the different layers of quality of service or quality of experience. When you're talking about the narrowband IoT, your requirements are not the same as if you're talking about an ultra low latency IoT, mission critical IoT. So all of these elements of network slicing within the 5G environment, we're already testing it amongst the operators around the world, making sure that, again, they are set for the go-to-market part of it. And again, the cloudification part of it is also an important part of it, reducing the cost on the physical network and cloudifying all of these activities and interconnection points. So just a brief overview of what we discussed. There are four major areas. As I said, I keep repeating myself about the security part of it. It's a major part of 5G. So in that respect, we have to make sure that all of these elements are taken care of. As I mentioned, the quality of experience, to make sure that, again, the roaming experience that the customer has today is exactly the same as the experience that they have at home. Okay, so there is no difference in any activity that they do. And again, for the machine-to-machine part of it as well, to make sure that these elements, especially for the mission-critical part of IoT, that is taken care of. I mentioned the POCs and the proof of concepts that we are running around the globe on this part, and also Bertold referred to it, Rolf referred to it, because when it comes to machine activities, the latency is very, very important. We are one of the front runners when it comes to local breakout, regional breakouts, to make sure that we don't have the traffic going around the globe before it reaches its final destination, actually. So from that perspective, we're also very, very engaged. And that is it for me. Sia, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you
Thanks so
very
much.
Nicholas, for this interesting presentation. And I would now ask you to stay here with us as we will move on to the next part of the day. And at this moment in time, I would like to hand over to Rolf, as he would like to make some conclusions here for all of you today.
Yeah, first of all, a big thank you for all your questions and really the high engagement during the last session and for your time. Well, just to summarize, I think we started from the point that our business sometimes seems to be very highly complex. But always coming back to what we are doing, we are the main enablers for DT's B2C, B2B and B2B to X business. So with the complexity we are gaining on top, comes very much from the current developments we have. And I hope that we were able to give you more transparency on some of our projects, how we are embracing these topics. For us, in any case, innovation is here key. The key ingredients for our success is technology with innovation and having a large partner network. And looking also back to all the presentations, we can say that there are for us two top 5 digital transformation and innovation streams. One is very much that we are passionate about radical automation. So many of the topics you have seen here today are about automation, making and facilitating customers' lives in a very specific way and becoming leaner. We have to embrace the cloud-native journey that is out there and really see how we are scaling our platforms from that perspective. We have seen the example of SD-WAN coming from MPLS, how this disaggregation is working. And this is just one example how important disaggregation is to speed up innovation. And then we are, of course, very passionate about customer experience and security. Also, we had many examples around that, how digitalization brings us closer to the customer, how we can really bring more specific customer needs and solutions towards our main customers. Security anyhow is a huge topic in this field where we are having more untrusted networks also under our umbrella. And then, very important is the topic of collaboration and standardization across the carrier industry. We mentioned the Camara Alliance we have, but of course we're engaged in many more areas like the GSMA, like the MEF, like the Global Leadership Forum, where we are aligning among all the international wholesale carriers on specific initiatives. And I hope that we could also bring across that for us, this strategy, these initiatives, this market change, is not just a talk. It's in action. We are working on that. We have achieved quite a lot. We have everywhere a lot of initiatives in place and making strong progress. And of course, we like to stay in touch with you that we can really debrief on a regular process what we have achieved so far. And from this, Sia, I would like to hand back to you for the final closing.
Thank you very much, Rolf, and a big thank you to everybody who took part here today. And I say that on behalf of everybody at Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier, our speakers. So thank you very much for taking part in the day today. I hope you found the day insightful and that you were able to learn something new.